May 9th, 2021. Episode 2, Hark, the Heralds. It is the 28th day of Kythorn. Time of flowers, beginning of summer. This is day 3 of our traveling. 3 days of rations have been used. We woke up the next day to nothing eventful. Our decoy camp had ended up not being necessary. Thank goodness. We continued our travel for another full day's time with little to no incident, camping out once more, once nightfall came. When we awoke on the 3rd day, I found myself growing highly anxious at the lack of events while on this trip. I couldn't help but feel like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, or so they say. It didn't help that I was sore and tired. I've never been on horseback, let alone for so many hours at a time. It makes your body hurt in strange places. That, and sleeping on the ground, my bed was certainly not a paragon of comfort at home, but it was wondrous compared to the cold hard ground. As we packed up camp and began to continue on our path, I found myself becoming extra paranoid. These people responsible for the ransom note. They were expecting us. So, it wouldn't be a stretch to think that they might have some kind of ambush waiting. Not only that, but we hadn't brought the coin they demanded for. That would probably make someone pretty angry, right? Thankfully no ambush happened, instead we came upon the blue hawk markers and some dense woods. So dense in fact, that bringing the horses would have been more of a hindrance than it was worth. We chose to leave them behind, tied up with enough rope that they could graze. We made our way into the brush, doing our best to follow the trail of markers. Since things were a bit harder to spot sneaking up on you in the forest, we discussed the idea of maybe having someone more sure-footed scout ahead. Thane ended up being that person. He made to go ahead of us some ways, constantly checking to see if the area was clear of danger. We had been following the blue hawk markers as the note had mentioned, and we had traveled quite a ways at this point. So, I was expecting us to come upon the meeting area soon. After a short while, we finally did reach a clearing. And wouldn't you know it? 3 bandit men appeared to be guarding the area. Or at least they were assumedly bandits by the looks of them. They had a rather large tent in their camp. 2 of the men were standing near the mouth of the tent, while the other, armed with a crossbow, was patrolling the edge of the clearing, occasionally circling around and peering into the woods. We began to discuss what to do next while still out of their sights. Thane circled around the entire clearing as quietly as he could, just to see if he could spot any sign of Moose's parents. When he returned to the group, he let us know that there was no indication that anybody else was there with these men, but the tent was so large that we couldn't be sure that Moose's parents weren't in there. He also mentioned that the blue hawk markers continued on further into the woods. From there, everyone proceeded to disagree about what to do next, be it continue on, ambush the men or confront them about the missing gnomes. This argument went on for a while. Too long actually, because it garnered the attention of the patrolman. Thane and I both simultaneously seemed to pick up on this and I watched him react first. He performed a silent image of a boar running into their camp. He is clearly someone who is way better at thinking on his feet compared to myself. I tried to quickly follow up with some prestidigitation, to add sound to the trick. We all watched as the patrolman turned to shoot a crossbow bolt at the boar, his arrow going right through the phantom image. All 3 men were now clearly on alert. Svend took their yells as an invitation and was quick to charge into the clearing with the much thinner sword at his side drawn. The fighting began well before I was ready for it. Thane and Svend were attacking the man with the crossbow, and one of the men who had been near the tent joined in their fight. They appeared to both be struggling to get a good hit on him, due to the assailant's thick armor. Moose tried to take advantage of the chaos by using a spell to disguise herself. She then approached the tent, determined to get inside, but the man guarding it was not fooled. He made to slash at her with his weapon. Moose's first reaction was to set off a fire spell at him. One I did not recognize, as I hadn't gotten a good look from my vantage point. I saw her fall backwards as the spell missed, and then the man closed in on her with his sword. Watching this happen finally stirred a reaction from me out of fear for watching my friend get killed. I threw a fiery chromatic orb at the attacker and I somehow managed to hit him. Moose opened her eyes after falling, leaving her to believe she had been the one to land her fire spell. Honestly, I let her believe it. I was just relieved she wasn't hurt. Moose was able to prove herself soon after, using her crossbow. The fight wore on until one of the bandits seemed to fall by Thane's hand. Thane did not hesitate, and we were all forced to watch as he put a violent end to the man's life, by slicing him open in the middle. Upon seeing one of his comrades fall, the bandit Moose and I had been dealing with fled from the clearing. I tried to use a sleep spell on him as he ran, but it was unsuccessful at putting him to rest and he was quickly getting away. Soon to follow was the other remaining bandit, as he was up for more than he bargained for at the other end of both Thane and Sven's swords. I attempted to do something about him as well, but he got away too quickly. Thane had also not been able to stop him. Sven had been uninterested in giving chase. "Cowards are not worth fighting," I believe those were his words. Moose was only focused on getting inside of that tent, and didn't seem to care about the men who had gotten away. I watched them get smaller and smaller with a frown. My concern growing, as I was sure we could expect them to warn whomever they worked for of us coming. Or sending more bandits after us, to enact revenge. Thane voiced my same thinking, but there was little we could do about it now, as we turned towards the tent. The news wasn't good. No sign of Moose's parents. Thane then reminded us that the blue hawk markers continued on, away from the clearing. So, we knew we would need to keep going. I could see the worry over Moose's face, despite her trying to stay positive. We agreed as a group that we would take a short rest after having endured what felt like a long fight. When really, it was just my first. There would be many, much more difficult, and longer fights to come. I just hadn't any idea.